Nikko, one of Japan's leading tourist destinations. Here, you will be charmed by nature's bounty and will enjoy the beautiful scenery. You will also experience Japanese history at World Heritage temples and shrines. Nikko and Kinugawa, as well as the historic hot springs, are charming. Asakusa is easily accessible from the airport. It takes 2 hours from Asakusa to reach Nikko and Kinugawa via the Spacea Limited Express. Let's go to Nikko!
Potenza.
Let's go look for Mitsubishi Electric around the world. Singapore. Found it. Jakarta. Yeah! Tokyo. Kuala Lumpur. Mitsubishi Electric.
Welcome to Channel Japan. I'm Maki Arai.
And I'm Makiko Utsuda.
Every week we bring you the freshest information out of Japan from a studio here in Tokyo.
From the economy to culture and even food, if you want to find out what's happening in Japan right now, this is where you'll find it.
And these are our topics for today.
In Dreamweavers, we go inside a maker of ultra-thin veneers and discover its passion for technology and wood.
In Executive Insight, Japan's leading pharmaceutical maker reveals its global growth strategy.
In World Business Satellite, the good and bad of a World Heritage Site listing.
And in Takumi, a system to spot cracks and fissures in aging infrastructure before it's too late. So let's get started. First up is Dreamweavers, in which we introduce one-of-a-kind techniques and technologies of Japan's small and mid-sized companies.
Yes, and now this time we'll be continuing with our report on Hokusan, a maker of sliced veneers, which are thin layers of wood, often used as surface material for furniture.
Well, I know they're one of the top companies in the field and have worked on the inside of the 7 Stars in Kyushu cruise train, as well as a number of concert halls. But I've also heard they're facing lots of competition now.
Yes, that seems to be the case because Hokusan makes ultra-thin veneers so that people can easily enjoy the natural grain feel of choice woods from around the world. But recently, more companies are offering products made by photographing wood grain and printing that out as wallpaper, and that's threatening the businesses of companies that produce genuine veneers.
That's interesting. I guess printed wallpaper can be sold at a much lower price than veneers, which require costs for procuring choice wood and huge cutting equipment to produce those thin slices.
That's right.
But at the same time, there are definite advantages, I guess.
There are. And with natural wood products, when the humidity is high, they can help absorb moisture in the air, or when it's dry, they can adjust the humidity level. And actually, they have an odor-eliminating and antibacterial effect, and the smell of natural wood is also said to have a calming effect on the brain.
Well, it's kind of like that relaxing feeling you get when you walk through a forest. Exactly. So the time and effort the company spends on shaving those massive logs into thin slices provide customers with something more.
Yes, and this time visiting the company again is drummer Jimanika, who'll be tuning the president's passion for wood into music. So take a look.
The luxury sleeper train, 7 Stars in Kyushu. Despite the high price of 210,000 yen a night, reservations are flooding in. The extravagant use of wood covering the ceilings and walls projects a luxurious atmosphere. So where did the wood come from? Being used here are sliced veneers, extremely thin boards of natural wood, Laid over surfaces, they can transform simple rooms into upscale spaces. For example, this metal board. Apply a veneer, and this is how it looks. Ryugasaki, Ibaraki Prefecture. This is where Hokusan has its factory to turn wood into the thinnest layers in the world. Arriving for a visit is the drummer Jimanika. The first step.
The smell is a bit strong. It's a nice smell. I like it.
The logs they bought are split, and the insides inspected for the first time. The quality of the wood grain is not known until this moment. This time, the wood grain is clean and beautiful. It'll fetch a good price. This is a process to shave the log using a large-scale cutter. Sliding the cutter on the bottom, the wood is shaved into a thickness of just 0.2 millimeters. In other words, it's a massive planer. Sliced veneers as thin as dried fish shavings come out one after another. So how did the company get its start in the sliced veneer business? The president shows us something.
This is what we made in the very beginning.
Hokusan was founded in 1924 by Mr. Oyama's grandfather, who ran a footwear business. At the time, he often found tree stumps with beautiful grains in the mountains. He would cut them into thin layers and attach them to clogs, which became big sellers. Mr. Oyama became company president in 2004. The financial crisis several years later sent the business into an unprecedented crisis, forcing him to make hard decisions. He had to lay off veteran employees, but he later realized how big a legacy those veteran employees had left behind.
We've caused significant hardship for our employees. Our predecessors experienced many struggles to pass on the baton, and that's how the business has continued until today. So, it's even more important for us to realize the dream of the founder and hand that down to the next generation. That sense of mission is even stronger now.
There's one employee who knows firsthand what it was like back then. Osamu Nakahara of the Central Research Lab. He is involved in developing new uses and businesses for sliced veneers.
The financial crisis happened right after I joined the company, and we felt the effects for a long time afterwards. If you want to make something, you have to invest in equipment. But when you can't do that, you have to think of other ways and be creative. And I think that's how we managed to keep at this somehow.
And they've also come up with new technologies to help the company crawl out of its crisis. One of those is this non-flammable construction material made by attaching veneers to aluminum. It won't burn, even when a cigarette is placed on it for 2 minutes, a feat made possible by its thinness of just 0.2 millimeters. Moved by the determination of the company president and passion of the employees, Jimanika takes out his own tools and starts beating on wood pieces found throughout the factory.
That's from a tree of the ebony family. This makes a great sound. It's quite hard.
An emotion that Jimanika wants to share with the employees appears to build up inside. With the wood pieces he's collected, he puts together a makeshift drum set.
This is so cool that it's incomprehensible.
5 in the afternoon. The 100 or so employees who've finished work start gathering around. Hokusan's customers include manufacturers of construction materials and musical instruments. The sides of this drum set are also covered in the company's sliced veneers. The employees, who hardly ever see the final products, are naturally curious.
I've added discarded pieces as well as processed wood to my drum set. I'm going to try playing on this mixture, so please listen.
The sound of wood that the factory employees are hearing for the first time echoes through the space. In it is a message from Jimanika. Day after day of tireless efforts to carry out the mind-numbing work of shaving a massive tree. Hokusan sends out into the world wood with beautiful grains unlike any other. A company whose name isn't widely known, but that has a message it can share only through wood.
This is the first time for me to see something like this up close. It's something I'll remember. Well, thank you.
I've been told this drum is made here, so I want to try playing it myself.
The music and the quality of the wood we handle are really the same in that they both get a message across. The president believes that passing on know-how from one person to the next is important. And I feel that's a trait particular to small and mid-sized companies. They don't pass on ideas through manuals, but through experience.
Let's paint a vision. Your imagination. It started moving round the world. Dream car. Let's paint a vision. Your imagination. It started moving round the world. From a sketch on a piece of paper. Come together now. Dream car.
Dear Lisa, I took a boat ride from Grand Prince Hotel Hiroshima and I arrived at an island of the gods. The autumn foliage was divine, simply wonderful. Riding on the Red Arrow, there was another wonderful place near Tokyo. This primeval scenery can only be described as wonderful. Let's come here together someday. Smiles ahead. Seibu Group.
You're watching Channel Japan. Next up is Executive Insight. So, Tsuda-san, who are we hearing from today?
Yes, this time we'll be speaking to the president of pharmaceutical company Daiichi Sankyo's Georgi Nakayama. And Ressa, have you heard of the term generic medicine?
Sure. Generic medicine is medicine manufactured and marketed after the developer's patents expire, and it generally has the same active ingredients and efficacy as the original drug. And the market is expanding globally as well, isn't it? And we've been hearing about Japanese pharmaceutical companies recently acquiring generic drug makers overseas and increasing investments in this field.
Yes, that is the situation. But in contrast, Daiichi Sankyo has announced that it will be pulling out from the generic medicine business globally and putting its focus back on developing new drugs. So we had a chance to speak to the company president about its strategy. So take a look.
Executive Insight. Ebola and new influenza are among the many communicable diseases threatening people around the world. The big three infectious diseases, HIV, AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria, kill more than 3 million people globally every year, and combating them is an urgent task for fast-developing countries in Asia and Africa. In contrast, industrialized nations are confronting the spread of lifestyle diseases, in addition to cancer, Alzheimer's, and rare disorders. Around the world, there are still numerous illnesses for which causes need to be identified, and new medicines to prevent and treat them have yet to be developed. Daiichi Sankyo is the third biggest pharmaceutical maker in Japan by sales and has operations around the world. The company has long been working on drugs to treat life-threatening diseases. Its top executive speaks about the pharmaceutical maker's role in global healthcare.
We've adopted a new direction for our business starting this year. One component of that is a focus and return to new medicines. Until now, we've acquired Ranbaxy Laboratories, which is India's biggest generic drug maker. Our aim was to focus our business on two areas: global generic medicines and global new medicines. But for Ranbaxy to expand its business in the future, one thing we determined was that quite a significant amount of funds needs to be invested.
After the acquisition, quality problems came to light at Ranbaxy, with Daiichi Sankyo deciding it needed significant funds to restructure the company and selling its stake to an Indian pharmaceutical maker. Daiichi Sankyo exited the global generics business and decided to put its focus back on new medicines.
Daiichi Sankyo was formed through the merger of two companies, Daiichi Pharmaceutical and Sankyo, both of which have histories of about 100 years. In the past, they've developed several revolutionary medicines. Given their track record, we decided to put the focus on our global business back on new medicines, which is our expertise. So that's why we adopted a new direction. We plan to strengthen our business in the three areas of Japan where we have an advantage: the U.S., which is the biggest market in the world, and China, which is expected to develop significantly. What's more, since we're narrowing in on new medicines, we will be further strengthening our R&D system.
Mr. Nakayama has positioned Japan, a market where the company has an advantage, as one of the business areas to be strengthened. So what strategy does he have in mind?
Among the many markets in the world, Japan is a region where you can find the biggest number of promising products. As for our regional strategy in Japan, we want to become a company that can meet the diverse medical needs of this market. So, in Japan, we have a firm that runs a generic medicine business, as well as one that does over-the-counter medicines. We also have a company that makes vaccines. We will link these companies to strengthen our overall business. Medicines to treat various diseases are medicinal drugs that are first prescribed by a physician after a checkup at hospital. Working women in particular have to think about their job and find it too troublesome to regularly go for an examination. It's more convenient if you can buy medicines at the neighborhood pharmacy. To meet these needs, we plan to change medical drugs into over-the-counter medicine that's commonly available. This is called Switch OTC and includes painkillers such as Loxonin.
The population in Japan continues to shrink because of the declining birth rate, while the elderly are increasing in number. Medicines commonly used in Europe and the United States are not widely available for patients in Japan who need them. A problem referred to as vaccine lag. Daiichi Sankyo says it will be working to solve these issues as well.
The birth rate is declining in Japan, so first we need to protect children from disease. I believe that by making available various vaccines on par with other industrialized countries, we can protect our children. Also, with the aging population, vaccinating against aspiration pneumonia is recommended by doctors. We want to be able to meet the vaccine demands of Japanese society as well.
Another area the company wants to strengthen is the U.S. market. A key product is an antihypertensive drug with 300 billion yen in sales worldwide. More than 100 billion yen is generated in the U.S. alone. But its patent in the U.S. is set to expire in 2016, with sales expected to fall sharply. The U.S. is a major market for the company, and the expiry of the patent for its core product will certainly have a significant effect, but they say there's an even bigger reason for focusing on the country.
The U.S. is the world's biggest market. At the same time, it is also the leader in the field of science. In that sense, unless you can become a company that secures a certain position in the U.S., you won't be accepted around the world. For us, it's an extremely tough market. But conversely, it's a crucial place to prove ourselves. That's how we've positioned the U.S. market. In the U.S., we've built up market share in the area of cardiovascular medicine, centering on olmesartan. Looking ahead, we expect a patent cliff. So, we plan to develop a new core business while maintaining our position in the U.S. The U.S. is important as a market, but that's not all. We want to build up relationships with brilliant researchers in various scientific fields in the U.S. and position it as a key R&D center for the development of new medicines.
Graying populations in many industrialized countries and growing populations in industrializing countries have pushed up Social Security costs and pressured prices of medical products. Securing resources to invest in the R&D of new drugs is an issue faced by the entire pharmaceutical industry. We asked Mr. Nakayama about his strategy for bolstering R&D.
To strengthen our R&D system, we believe the mentality, the mindset of our researchers, extensive scientific knowledge, and organizational management are important. What's important in terms of mindset is a company's ability to acquire and retain the spirit of an entrepreneurial venture. The reason I say that is because of the high productivity of entrepreneurial ventures in the U.S. We've also teamed up with such ventures, but that's not enough. We built a venture-like research organization inside our company. It's called Venture Science Laboratory, and they're moving ahead quite well. If we can confirm their capability to develop new drugs, we plan to expand this kind of initiative.
Daiichi Sankyo is also working on medicines to treat intractable diseases as part of efforts to strengthen the technical aspects of its R&D system.
On the technical side of strengthening R&D, we've started working on nucleic acid medicine. It's an orphan drug. There's a disease called Duchenne muscular dystrophy, and we're developing a treatment medicine with the help of experts in the field. And we're moving ahead with a nucleic acid medicine that's demonstrating possibilities.
Around the world, there are numerous diseases for which treatment methods have not yet been established. And in industrializing countries in Africa and Asia, the widening income gap as a result of economic development has led to disparities in healthcare access among different regions. What is the company doing to address such problems?
What social role do you believe pharmaceutical companies should play?
Within the business activities of pharmaceutical manufacturers is a very big element of social contribution. That is, addressing diseases with extremely few patients, or markets in regions where incomes are low and the market for medicines is not big. Regions where there's demand, but not enough to sustain a business. Doing something for those places is about social contribution. One of our initiatives is developing medicines for Duchenne muscular dystrophy. We're employing extremely advanced science. And because risks are quite high, we've secured funding from the Innovation Network Corporation of Japan to carry out development. And in India, there are numerous doctorless villages. We charter buses to dispatch doctors and medicines to those villages, as well as educate local mothers about health care and supply medicines.
The company also has a corporate social responsibility program in Vietnam aimed at halting the spread of infectious diseases, and presented a progress report at the Nikkei Asian Conference on Communicable Diseases in January.
Your company is supporting the manufacture of combination vaccines in Vietnam. How did this initiative start?
We began working with the Kitasato Institute Research Center for Biologics and JICA around 2006. And their activities were carried on by a joint venture called Kitasato Daiichi Sankyo Vaccine. Single vaccines are becoming combined vaccines. By adding new elements, it's possible to prevent many diseases with just one injection. To manufacture more of those vaccines, we have been pursuing technological cooperation.
The company has even built a facility called the Kusuri Museum to allow visitors to better understand medicines. Mr. Nakayama explains his motivation for continuing to nurture new medicines.
There isn't much appreciation in the world for what medicine really is. Medicine is a chemical compound that required significant effort to develop. And even after a medicine is developed, a lot of effort is needed to acquire information about how that medicine is actually used by patients. The amount of information is extremely important. Those are the aspects we want society to know about, and that's why we built the museum. Going forward, problems related to side effects and costs will become key themes for society as a whole. So, we want people to have a good understanding of medicines first. We want people to think about the future of medical care in Japan based on proper knowledge about medicines.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Tokyo Skytree. Be awestruck by the panoramic view. There are so many other fun things to do after you've enjoyed the view. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go, let's enjoy. This is Tokyo Skytree.
We do our jobs with sincerity and integrity to make a better living environment for the people and our society. Today's work Tomorrow's heritage. Shimizu Corporation.
Machines can do much more to unleash human potential. Pure possibility. Omron.
And next we have a report from TV Tokyo's World Business Satellite. So, what's the topic?
Yes, it's about World Heritage Sites, and if you can take a look over here, these are World Heritage Sites in Japan, which has a total of 19 on the list.
And I know some new sites were recently recognized.
Yes, and this time we have a report on the struggles of one local community as it prepared to apply for a World Heritage Site listing. So take a look.
Hashima, a deserted island off the port of Nagasaki. Because of its shape, it has been called Battleship Island and once flourished as an undersea coal mine. In May, the island was officially recommended for a World Heritage Site listing by ICOMOS, a UNESCO advisory panel. The 8 daily tours to the island are fully booked, even on weekdays. The price is between 3,000 yen and 4,000 yen per person. On this day, too, throngs of tourists arrive to see the historical structures built from the Meiji to Showa periods. What do local residents think?
Just having the label of a World Heritage Site brings prestige to Battleship Island.
For someone like me who loves Nagasaki, it makes me very happy and proud.
There's strong support for the listing throughout the city of Nagasaki. The city's World Heritage Registration Promotion Division is busy preparing for the listing. With a World Heritage designation certain, the person in charge, Naoki Kawahara, should be all smiles. But his expression is clouded. The reason?
There are a variety of maintenance patterns for Hashima. 5 patterns. The most expensive one is 15.8 billion yen.
The city estimates that maintenance could cost up to 15.8 billion yen. In fact, more difficult than preparing for a World Heritage Site listing is what needs to be done afterward. There are strict guidelines for maintaining the scenery and structures of facilities. While the national government will subsidize part of the cost, the city of Nagasaki will need to pay several hundreds of millions of yen for the upkeep of Hashima. In the past, in Germany's Elbe Valley, the local government built a bridge in the area to relieve traffic congestion against the objection of ICOMOS. As a result, its World Heritage Site status was revoked. Back in Hashima, we accompanied Mr. Kawahara as he visited the island to check which structures need to be reinforced.
The seawalls also have vertical cracks.
As the waves around Battleship Island are high, the city has made repairing the seawalls its top priority. About 40 structures remain standing on Battleship Island. Most are severely dilapidated. To guard them from seawater and rain, a protective paint is scheduled to be coated on the surfaces. But
they were built in 1916 as the first reinforced concrete high-rise apartment buildings in Japan. As you can see from here, the floors have fallen through, and in that condition, it's difficult to make them safe.
For 41 years since the coal mine closed, the buildings have been left untouched and are severely damaged, another reason for increased maintenance costs. In addition to preserving the site, Nagasaki will also be responsible for paying the annual upkeep cost, a considerable sum. So how will the city deal with this situation?
We need to review island entrance fees and endowments and consider various options. It'll be difficult to maintain the site with just the funds available to Nagasaki.
Meanwhile, at Tomioka Silk Mill, which won its designation a year ago, the number of daily visitors reached a record high in May, and tourists continue to throng here. But in April, the entry fee was raised from 500 yen to 1,000 yen.
I didn't know that.
They also began charging for the guided tour, which was previously offered free of charge. The plan is to repair key facilities under the management guidelines for World Heritage Sites.
The structures are becoming worn and even the roof is uneven. We want to repair those sections for the visitors who come here.
But the biggest problem is these bricks. A special method called timber-framed brick construction is used. This is the only existing building in Japan to use the method, a reason for the high cost. According to one estimate, they may have to spend 10 billion yen over 10 years. The city of Tomioka aims to recoup the cost of repairs and maintenance by raising the entrance fee. Oshino Village, Yamanashi Prefecture. The Oshino Hakkai Springs were designated a World Heritage Site 2 years ago, together with Mount Fuji. World Heritage Sites are required to preserve not only the original condition of properties, but also the scenic value of surrounding areas. This is a recommendation issued by ICOMOS. The development of structures in the vicinity of Oshino Hakkai is cited as affecting the scenery, and local authorities are advised to make improvements. So the village took action.
This is a fire hydrant shed. We installed an inclined roof and used wooden boards for the walls so that the structure fits into the overall scenery.
What's more, they've been carrying out a plan to unify the appearance of businesses and homes in the area by subsidizing the cost of painting them a traditional brown color. The roof of this vendor will also be changed from a green to brown color.
We're a bit late, but plan to start the work soon. We'll use brown to unify the scenery of this World Heritage Site.
While Oshino Village is steadily carrying out its plan to improve the scenery, others are still unsure about what direction to take. This is the 5th station of Mount Fuji. ICOMOS has pointed out that the design of structures in this area also needs to be improved. But the advisory body hasn't provided specifics as to the place and improvements it wants to see. Oshino Village has been working to unify the scenery of the area by using colors and materials associated with traditional Japan. But here, they still haven't decided what direction to take in making improvements. The Yamanashi Prefectural Office. The deadline for submitting an improvement plan for the 5th station of Mount Fuji to ICOMOS is next February. If they fail to do so, their World Heritage status may be revoked.
It's necessary to continue maintaining the value of a World Heritage Site, and that requires us to make efforts.
various problems that crop up after a World Heritage Site listing. Overcoming them may be a longer and more trying path.
And after the break, we have a new episode of Takumi.
Mitsui & Company.
Man, look at all these cars.
Hey, have you heard, by the way, the Japanese company Kobelco is working to make the world's cars lighter.
So what does that mean?
Kobelco is using aluminum and steel technologies to make car parts and bodies lighter around the world.
Ah, Japanese technology. The country of karate. Ha! Ha! Ha!
Why do we always do that?
I don't know.
The talk of the world. Kobelco.
The sport truck. New Mitsubishi Triton.
Arrive at Earth, Mitsubishi Motors.
You're watching Channel Japan. Next, we bring you a segment called Takumi from Science View, a program produced by NHK.
Takumi literally means artisan in Japanese, and it's a word often used to describe craftsmen with exceptional skill.
So, who's our Takumi today?
Yes, our Takumi this time is an innovator in the field of infrastructure maintenance. And as you may know, much of the infrastructure in Japan, such as roads, bridges and sewage systems, are more than 50 years old, meaning they're past their service life and may need to be rebuilt.
Well, I know that there was a rush to build up infrastructure during the rapid economic growth period of the 1960s.
Yes, you're right. And in the past, to inspect the conditions of these structures for cracks and fissures and other problems, they used special rulers to directly measure damage and kept records by sketching that on paper.
That seems really old-fashioned in this digital world we live in.
So our Takumi this time developed a device that allows for damage to aging infrastructure be measured easily. So take a look.
Highways and bridges are an essential part of our daily lives. But these infrastructures are rapidly showing signs of aging and are posing a threat to public safety.
In Mino City, Osaka Prefecture, there's a company that's come up with an innovative technology that can solve this problem. Let's go and find out.
Mino City is located at the north of Osaka Prefecture.
Look over there. I wonder what they're doing.
Hello, I'm Michelle Yamamoto.
I'm Nakaniwa.
This is today's Takumi, or innovator, Kazuhide Nakaniwa. He runs a construction site surveying company that takes measurements during construction projects. The device next to the Takumi was created to tackle the problem of an aging and deteriorating infrastructure.
Right now, we are using the device to measure the cracks in that bridge.
Viewed normally, there aren't any visible cracks. But when you look through the device,
Wow, you can really see it up close. It's almost like using a telescope.
the cracks are clearly visible from 20 meters away. But detecting cracks isn't the only thing this device can do. It can load the data into a computer as a 3D image. A detailed study of the cracks is needed to assess the state of an infrastructure. But until now, cracks were measured with a special ruler that was placed directly on the crack. To do this, it was necessary to bring in a crane car or build a scaffold. And most crack records were drawn by hand. A comment from one of his on-site workers motivated the Takumi to create this crack measurement system.
He said, "Why do engineers have to draw sketches?" That question got me thinking.
This was the resulting device. You can observe cracks from a distance and keep a precise record of its shape. In addition to recording the shape of a crack, it's equally important to measure its width. A crack in the concrete allows water to seep inside. If the steel rods inside the concrete begin to rust, then the infrastructure will be damaged. A 0.2 millimeter crack is believed to be the width at which water can get inside. This makes accurate measurements indispensable. The Takumi's knowledge and experience in the field helped him develop the device. Laser measurement technology was used to measure accurately from a distance. With the press of a button, the Takumi's crack measurement system emits a laser beam which hits the wall and bounces back to the device.
The distance is 3 meters, 46 centimeters, and 2.2 millimeters.
It can accurately measure up to 1/10 of a millimeter. The viewfinder is equipped with a scale that's used to measure the width of a crack. By finding the scale line that matches the crack, they can calculate the crack's width based on the distance. But there was still one problem. The width is different depending on where you look at it from. This vertical line looks much thinner from the side. Let's use these lines as an example. The greater the angle, the thinner they appear. The angle affected the accuracy of the reading. To remedy this, the Takumi's device has a function that makes adjustments as necessary.
It seeks out the incidence angle and uses it to calculate the width.
It needs the incidence angle of the crack. The key is to measure the distance between 3 points near the crack. By calculating the numbers, the device is able to find the incidence angle. Then, based on the incidence angle, it can calculate the actual width of the crack. This was how the concrete crack measurement system, which can detect signs of deterioration from a distance, was developed. More than 140 units are currently in use around Japan, and they've proven their worth by measuring over 1,000 cracks to date. The deterioration of infrastructures. The Takumi believes that this problem extends well beyond Japan.
Infrastructures are directly connected to human lives. I want to prevent developing countries from making the same mistakes as developed countries. I hope that they will take an interest in maintenance and work to detect cracks at an early stage.
And that brings us to the end of this edition of Channel Japan. We have much more in store for you, so join us again next week.